Kia ora koutou, ko Grant Brookes tōku ingoa, ko te MANA Pōneke tōku rōpū. I'd like to thank Brother here, Dean Te Kupu, for allowing me to say a few words today about Waitangi Day, Te Rā o Waitangi. What does it mean today, 174 years on from the signing? Well, to start with something that's annoyingly obvious, it means that the politicians are back from their summer holidays. Have you noticed? Their talking heads are filling up the news again. It means, in recent years, that means a State of the Nation address from the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition. And more speechifying about that stuff at Ratanapā and Waitangi. Most people also know, as Te Kupu has pointed out, that today is also Bob Marley's birthday. So what does Waitangi Day mean? Well, sometimes in some places it means One Love concerts. But what is this nation that the politicians talk about in their State of the Nation speeches? Who is this unified people who are encouraged to get together and feel all right? Well, on this day in 1840, Te Treaty o Waitangi was signed by Governor William Hobson on behalf of the Crown and by over 40 chiefs. The chiefs included some of those who had issued 1835 Declaration of Independence, Te Whakaputanga o Te Rangatiratanga. As each chief signed Te Treaty, Busby said to them, He iwi ko tahi tātou, we are one people. So the proclamation of the nation, of the one people that our politicians speak about, that began at Waitangi. And maybe, just maybe, it could have been true that we are one people if the treaty had been honoured. But today, anyone who knows anything about the Treaty o Waitangi knows that the treaty was not honoured by the Crown. John Key even says the Crown never honoured it. He said they breached the agreement signed there. Helen Clark said that the Crown failed spectacularly to fulfil its treaty obligations. And the current Crown representative, Sir Jerry Mataparai, says the Crown breached the treaty as well. So what does Waitangi Day mean today, 174 years on? It serves as a reminder of Busby's original untruth. We are not one people. There is not a single nation in this land. There are nations existing side by side. There's one nation of around 35,000 people living mainly in South Canterbury. When this nation woke up 3 years ago and discovered that around $1.8 billion worth of its assets had been taken from under it, John Key said it was a very sad and distressing day. He said it was fair for them to get all their money back from the government. And he would move swiftly so they were fully compensated. This nation of depositors and South Canterbury finance, they got their $1.8 billion back, courtesy of the government, quick as a flash. Then there's another nation, a much bigger nation, of around 750,000 people all up. This nation had around 250 million square kilometres of land taken by force and fraud, worth tens of billions of dollars. Countless other treasures were taken too, and whole communities were wiped out. People belonging to this nation have waited and waited, in some cases for 150 or 160 years, for compensation from this government. Even though they're more numerous, even though their losses are much greater, they've received less than the $1.8 billion given to the South Canterbury finance holders in 2010. As a fraction of what they lost, in fact, compensation for, in monetary terms, has amounted for Māori people of just about 3 cents in the dollar. Yet when the people of the Māori nation protest this unfairness, John Key says they need to get beyond grievance mode. When Māori point out discrimination against their nation, with imprisonment rates 6 times what others have, twice as much child poverty and unemployment, and lifespans 10% shorter, They're told by the Justice Minister, Judith Collins, that their human rights, in fact, are actually excellent. So Waitangi Day reminds us that we are not all one nation, equal before the lawmakers. And believe it or not, there's a tiny tribe living among us that's entirely foreign. It's a nation so small that the names of all of its inhabitants can be printed each year in the issue of a magazine in July. Their tribal connection is reflected by a common first name, which many of them share. That first name is Sir. And although entry to this nation is extremely difficult, it seems there are a handful of iwi leaders who are also pursuing residency. Now this is the nation of people on the National Business Review's Rich List. Last year, the wealth of these 164 individuals and families amounted to $60 billion for 164 individuals and families. Now this is more than the 2.25 million people who make up the poorer half of this country own altogether. The residents of Rich List Nation believe that everyone living here is part of a rock star economy. Not surprising they believe this when they live like rock stars themselves. Their leader, Graham Hart, well, he lives in a $30 million mansion. That's when he's in New Zealand. He also owns properties all around the world. He also owns two 200-foot yachts, which he can use to sail to the island he owns in the South Pacific. Or he could just ask his friend, Andrew Bagnall, for the use of his private Learjet. This is the lifestyle that comes when you've got a personal fortune of up to $6.5 billion. The inhabitants of this nation, they believe privatisation is right and paying taxes is wrong. Their system of values is based on alien concepts of individual self-interest. They do not agree with protesting on Waitangi Day. To them, people like Honi Harawira or Matiria Turai who uphold the right to protest, they are like the devil himself. The citizens of this nation even deny that issues like inequality or environmental destruction are growing problems, needing urgent attention. There are other nations also residing in Aotearoa. There's a rainbow nation whose sexuality is used as a term of abuse. And there's a people who shoulder the majority of their work in this land but get 17% less pay each week, who experience 3/4 of the sexual assaults and are blamed for it when they do. But make no mistake, the nation of rich listers is at war with all of us. They're the ones holding the most valuable property, the real estate taken from Māori through colonisation. Property tycoons like Michael Friedlander and Peter Cooper, named in the rich list. They enjoy the spoils of victory of colonisation in Auckland, while people like Sir Robert Jones enjoy it here in Wellington. This nation is attacking us. They're attacking our livelihoods. Members of the Talley family personally oversaw the cuts to wages and job security for the meat workers at AFCO. And they directed the 12-week lockout to try and break the union when the workers in the meatworks objected. They're degrading our environment, this nation. They're attacking it. The Todd family made a billion-dollar fortune drilling for oil in partnership with offshore oil companies. They also own the airport at Paraparaumu, built on land confiscated from Māori in my parents' own lifetime. But the foreign occupation of this land by the rich list nation is secured not only by their wealth, it's also maintained by their hands on the levers of power. Because John Key is a citizen of this nation. So is National Party President Peter Goodfellow and Labour Party funder Sir Owen Glenn. ACT Party financiers Craig Farmer, Craig Heatley and Doug Myers are also residents of Rich List NZ, along with the Vella family who bankrolled New Zealand First. This nation used their power to block efforts to tackle child poverty, to undermine unions, to defend double standards which discriminate against us all. So today, it is right that we are standing up to resist those who are waging war on us. Today then, we should celebrate the hikoi from Te Rerenga Wairua to Waitangi, opposing the offshore drilling by Norwegian company Statoil. We should support author Patricia Grace's stand against the confiscation of more Māori land at Waikanae for yet another motorway to be built. We should cheer the high school teachers in Whangarei and their union for boycotting cooperation with the charter schools, which will further undermine education for the majority. We should take up the cause to honour Te Tiriti. And as well as One Love, there's another song we should also remember today in honour of Bob Marley. It goes like something like this. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. Me say war. But until there is no longer first and second class citizens of any nation, until the colour of a man's skin is of no more significance than the colour of his eyes, this is a war. Until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all, without regard to race, this is a war. That until that day, the dream of lasting peace, world citizenship, rule of international morality will remain a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained. Now everywhere is war. Now there's a leaflet that's being handed out here today. This one. It's got a few things written on it. It says, end child poverty, feed the kids. It says, end economic apartheid and end the war on the poor. The war has been going on too long. What is the meaning of Waitangi Day in 2014? The politicians are right about one thing. It is our national day. It's the day for our nations to renew the resistance against theirs in the hope that one day we may become one people. Thank you.